Well, thank you for the kind introduction, and thank you to Red Cloud for scheduling me at noon on Friday here, which is coincidental with the turnaround in the gold price. So spots breaking out over 2070. So I know it's a bit of a uranium focus this year, but I think going forward, gold should be a good performer. Obviously, many in our sector have been thinking that and have been wrong for a few years, but hopefully this is it. So we are focused on gold projects, and as Timothy mentioned, in two countries. So we have two flagships, really: the Cervantes porphyry gold property in Sonora, Mexico, which has been the focus of our recent drilling, and our upcoming drilling will be in Arizona, just north of actually our property in Sonora, about a 6-hour drive door to door, and that's got a gold silver focus. I will be making a couple of forward-looking statements here, so everybody's encouraged to hop onto our website and read the legal disclaimer. A bit of an overview of the company, just very quickly. So we do have a North American focus. We have an experienced management and board. Myself, I'm from a capital markets background, but we'll have a look at the rest of the team in a minute here, and you'll see a number of very well-known geologists and also other good capital markets people involved that have an established track record of making money for shareholders throughout the various cycles that we've been in over the past few decades. Again, we focused here on North America. We see the continent as a whole as a very friendly mining jurisdiction. There's still a lot of discoveries left to be made, and there's even in Mexico, it's had its challenges in recent months. It's still a lot better than a lot of other countries and other parts of the world in terms of mining investment. And Arizona is, in our opinion, one of the best jurisdictions, particularly when you're located on patented or private mining claims. The permitting process, in particularly in our county, in Cochise County in southeastern Arizona, is night and day compared to a lot of other projects that aren't on private ground. So the two properties that we have, they're both post-discovery, pre-resource. We've done 3 rounds of drilling at each. At Cervantes, we've hit a couple of really exciting headline intersections, 137 meters averaging 1.5 grams gold in oxides, mainly from surface, and 165 meters of a gram in another hole that stepped out from that. So a really good start there. That property has now seen about 13,000 meters of drilling over about 70 drill holes. And Tombstone's seen over 6,500 meters of drilling, about 50 drill holes there. And we've had also pretty exciting broad widths of oxide, gold, silver mineralization. In particular, 32 meters of 6.28 grams per ton gold equivalent and 65.5 meters of 3.4 grams gold equivalent. These are also very shallow, starting about 20, 30 meters below the surface. And our recent drilling there has seen excellent silver results, 7.6 meters over 700 grams silver when we drilled a little bit deeper last year. And within that was a very high grade interval of 1.5 meters of approximately 3,400 grams per ton silver. We also have a very exciting CRD style target at depth, not too deep, it's 600 meters depth. And for context, the big CRD discovery of the last decade that got people excited is obviously Taylor Hermosa. That discovery was made about 40 miles, 60 kilometers southwest of us. They made their discovery about 1 kilometer beneath the Hermosa Silver District. So we're comparatively shallow in our target compared to that famous discovery, which incidentally had a positive production decision made on it last week or 2 weeks ago by South 32 Mining, who acquired the property from Arizona Mining in 2018 for nearly $2 billion Canadian. A bit on our capital structure. So, we're cheap right now. Obviously, most explorers are pretty cheap. We have had a pretty good run over the past 5 years, and we really did hold our value at about around average of $30 million market cap throughout those 6 rounds of drilling, 3 at each property that I was just touching on earlier. And, we see our current level as a pretty good entry point. Obviously, out here pitching the story on that fact. We just raised at 15 cents. So we're cashed up. Everybody's in at the same price, and we think now is potentially a pivot in the precious metal sector with the macro picture becoming ever so gradually more favorable for potential breakdown in the U.S. dollar and perhaps a reversal in some of the very tight monetary policy that we've seen over the past couple of years. It has really, sucked all the energy and enthusiasm out of the precious metal exploration space. So we have 109 million shares outstanding at 15 cents a share, about 17.5 million in market cap. That's about half of where we were when we were drilling at our Tombstone property last spring, where we had the very exciting silver grades that really popped up our valuation. Key shareholders, I want to touch on this. So insiders own about 14% of the company. Our largest insider is Alamos Gold. They came in and purchased about 10% of our shares 2 years ago and participated in subsequent financings. They came in off the strength of our drill results at the Cervantes property and have supported us since. And recently we've been able to solidify our shareholder base by attracting some well-known institutions in our space. So Mir McCann Capital, the EMA GARP Fund, more recently a group out of Munich, CM Equity, and a group out of Switzerland. So we can trace back 50% of our shares with a look of about 8 or 9 shareholders on our list. So it's 110 out, but it's really quite tight when you consider the fact that we've drilled two properties 3 times each and made significant discoveries on each property. Just quickly on our location here. So 2 separate countries, but we can fit them all in the same map slide. 6 hours door to door. You can see Tombstone in the blue. That's southeastern Arizona in the U.S. And then our Cervantes property is in eastern Sonora, nestled in around a number of very well-known open pit heap leach projects, primarily controlled by Canadian companies, actually. Most notably, Alamos's Mulatos mine is 40 kilometers to our east, and they are our largest strategic shareholder. We have a fairly large property. It's well located, in our view, over 3,600 hectares in size, 11 separate targets. We do view Sonora as a well-established mining district. Sonora is a home of about 30% of Mexico's gold production, and so this is something that's really top of mind to the locals there. We provide a lot of good employment, good jobs to the locals. No ejido near us. Our surface access is owned privately by ranchers. We have agreements in place with all of the ranchers that own land on our concessions. And we have water wells on site. We're about 12 kilometers to the nearest power. So infrastructure-wise, we're in good shape. We're at the end of a dead-end ranching road, so not a lot of traffic coming through our property. It's out of sight, out of mind. We're a couple thousand feet up in the mountains. So good location. As I mentioned, 11 separate targets geologically. I won't go too much into this other than to point out that there's 2 northeast striking porphyry trends with numerous porphyry centers outcropping at surface. We've honed in on the strongest anomaly to date. This is called the California zone, and this has seen significant drilling now, almost 70 drill holes, about 13,000 meters. We just recently put out some drill results from our recent expansion program. And if I draw your attention to the image at the bottom of the slide here, you can see an eastward looking view of that California zone. It's a gold oxide cap to what we think is a deeper porphyry gold copper system. And to date, all of our drill holes on this ridgeline have come back with significant intersections of oxide gold mineralization. So this is wide open still to expand. It's seen really grid drilling over the past 3 years. We're now busy doing some desktop studies, understanding the geological controls of that volume of information that's been generated with the drilling. And that will really feed into our plans to continue drilling, hopefully later this year. Won't get too much, obviously, into the geology here. Happy to pick up questions offline or in the Q&A. But one really interesting factor on this is, for those that are interested in geology, look at the blue to the northwest of the California zone. That's a magnetic low. That also coincides with a very strong gold and soil anomaly and a gold and rock anomaly. And it also coincides with some of the highest grade gold that we drilled on the property in hole 34 as part of our recent program. So we're looking at that as the potential sulfide source of the oxides running up the ridgeline. A pretty exciting prospect for us to follow up on, and probably the key takeaway from our recent drilling. That's a section view on this slide looking at that gold and the mineralized end of that hole. We really wish we could have taken this one a bit deeper, but being at the bottom of the ridgeline, we hit the water table about 50 meters down the hole and had some caving issues as we got towards the bottom of it. But had to make a calculation there, risk reward, cost benefit, and drilling RC without water served us well for the rest of the 13 drill holes that we recently put in. Highlight reel of our best results in the property to date. You can see 137 meters of 1.5 grams gold, 165 meters of a gram, 152 meters of nearly 0.9. Very well disseminated throughout that hillside. So we're very pleased with how this is shaping up. Just a quick view on some of our initial modeling here. So you can see that the mineralization is very shallow, runs along the ridge line, and seems to have a very shallow dip towards the northwest, which is very key for the recent findings of that geophysical anomaly, which pairs up well with the sulfide gold at the bottom of that hole, and of course the surface expressions of gold as well. We have done some initial metallurgical testing on this, some of the core that has come out of our drilling. The recoveries look solid, 85% in the first gold group, in the oxides 87.7 in the second. This metallurgical testing is slated to be expanded in the coming quarters. Just another view at our property here. You can see in summary that it's a large property, several targets that we really don't have time to go into detail with on a quick presentation. But we feel there's lots of upside, not only at the California zone, which has the very significant gold oxide discovery of now over 1 kilometer in strike, several hundred meters in width, and 125, 150 meters plus in depth. Lots to unpack here still, but being a 2-asset company, we want to save a few minutes to talk about Tombstone. Tombstone is a famous high-grade silver district in southeast Arizona, and by its nature of being a historic high-grade district, it has allowed us to pick up a lot of the old mining patents. So this puts us in a really favorable potential permitting situation. Private land in southeast Arizona is highly sought after for exploration properties. Our permitting process for a drill permit, for example, is 24 hours. You upload your drill plan onto a county portal and that's it. So we're really lucky to have this property. 40 miles away from Taylor Hermosa. That serves as the basis for our discovery model. And as I mentioned, it's a high-grade past-producing silver district, so there's underground workings here going down 1,000 feet, 10 levels of mining. A lot of this happened in the late 1800s or early 1900s. There's 32 million ounces of silver produced, mainly from high-grade mantos and veins. And the mines flooded around 1915. That provides us an opportunity to go in and re-drill some of these zones that the old timers were mining. And I mentioned old timers were mining here back in the day. Well, there were also modern mining through heap leaching back in the 1980s. For about a 10-year period, 2 main pits were producing, the Grand Central and the main pit. So we own this property now 75-25 with some partners who contribute their 25% of the costs. We've, with them, been working on drilling off the pit and working our way down to these deeper high-grade silver targets. Here's a view into the pit, and a lot of our expansion potential, we think, comes to the west side and to the sill zone, also to the east and to the south, but particularly to that west side zone. And beneath the pit. It's very shallow. It's only about 80 meters at its deepest. So in terms of a low strip type operation, that's still in play. Potentially looking at, a sub 3, maybe 2.5 or 2-to-1 strip ratio to move that western bench back and get at some of the exceptional grades that we've been drilling that I'll highlight in a slide here upcoming. So I mentioned the mineralization. It's quite shallow. So here we can see a view north through the cross sections of the pit. You can see the mineralization is quite broad in width, and it starts about 20, 30 meters below the pit floor. And this is significant. You got to ask, why did the mine shut down in the 80s? Well, two factors. They obviously hit a bit of a barren zone at the bottom of their excavation at the time, and also the commodity price fell out in the early 90s. So we've had the opportunity to drill just 100 to 150 meters below the bottom of the pit, and you can see we're hitting some exceptional grades here. So the mineralization in these structures pick right up again. We have 900 meters now of strike length drilled off and about 200 meters of width, and here's our highlight reel. So this is exciting. For those that think in grade thickness or gram meters, this is a non-43-101 compliant metric, but it's sometimes helpful for investors to compare drill results and how exciting they may or may not be. And what you can see here is that we have, out of our 50 drill holes to date, 10 holes that exceed 100 gram meters, and 4 holes that exceed 200 gram meters. So generally speaking, on an exploration story of a 10 to 15, $20 million market cap, one of these holes would get some eyeballs. We have 10 of them and 4 of them that are over 200 that tend to really turn eyeballs, especially when they're so shallow and when they're all hosted in heap leach friendly oxides. A bit of our idealized cross section here, just to tie together what I was saying earlier about the 2 eras of mining. So you can see at the top of this image, there's the outline of the pit. That's the 1980s era heap leaching work. And then you can see we've superimposed the 10 levels of old mine workings down to the limestones. The limestones are where we have our CRD target as well. So there's, in our view, very, very high potential for enriched silver grades at that water table. There's a thin blue line at around 4,100 that you can see. That's where the old timers were putting a lot of their concentration in their development work to get at some of that high grade silver. Unfortunately for them, they lost the pumping operation and had to wrap things up. Fortunately for us, a lot of that silver is still there. We've demonstrated that with our drilling last year, where we hit that 1.5 meters of over 3,400 grams silver. Haven't had a chance to follow up on that yet. We plan to do so later this spring into the summer. This is where we're going next. We're also building out our database and our understanding of the geology in the limestones that underlay the sedimentary, the sediments that host the oxides near surface. There is some limited historic drilling underneath that open pit. This was done by Santa Fe Mining in the late 80s and Newmont in the 50s, where at 500, 600 meters depth, so half of the depth of Taylor Hermosa. This is key. It's very expensive to drill deep in Arizona. We're finding grades that are akin to Taylor Hermosa, 7 meters, 9.1% lead zinc, an ounce of silver, a sniff of gold, and just looking at my slide here, 0.61% copper. That's a Taylor Hermosa style grade. And that was drilled basically at the very north end of the pit. There has been no deep drilling under the guts of the pit where most of the historic heap leach production came from. That's likely where the mineralization is coming up from. We've run some modern day geophysics over the entire pit. This is natural source AMT. And what it is showing us here is that there are 2 strong conductors at the same horizon as that CRD style semi-massive sulfide intersection towards the north end of the pit. So this is a very, very exciting polymetallic underground style of target. Haven't had a chance to drill yet. We're still proving out, further potential resources of oxide gold and silver to build a base of value and to have a good share price to go in and risk a little bit of capital to go and drill deeper and have another element of that blue sky upside that everybody's looking for in these sorts of exploration plays. So in summary, this is a past producer from 2 eras. It is well located on private land. It's got, we own water wells on site. It's right by a town with good access to power and all of the other necessary infrastructure and skilled workforce. And we will be looking forward to be drilling here later this year, hopefully within the next 3 or 4 months. So that concludes my formal remarks. Happy to take any questions.